Welcome back to another episode of Retraced Echoes. As always, I'm your host. My name is Bert, and we are back at it again. And this time, we're doing a little bit of a road trip. Today, we're venturing to the heart of Texas, a place where the whispers of the past are as tangible as the eerie silence that fills its abandoned halls. We're actually going to be stopping by the Yorktown Memorial Hospital. So this is the first time we've actually covered this location. Now, what I've seen is this seems to be, my understanding is top 5 haunted locations in Texas. So for what it's worth, that's the information I have. Let me get into some of the history of the location, because I think that's why a big portion of you guys actually come here. Now, this hospital was founded in 1950, and Yorktown Memorial was more than a hospital. It was actually a beacon of hope for this small community in Yorktown, Texas. But, as always, as the years passed, that beacon dimmed, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in darkness and mystery. With nearly 2,000 reported deaths within its walls, the hospital has become kind of an epicenter for paranormal enthusiasts and investigators, each drawn by the allure of its ghostly residents, as well as their untold stories. Now, the hospital's corridors, they're now silent and decaying, but once was alive with the hustle of medical staff and the hopes of patients seeking healing. But what lingers in the halls now is something far more unsettling. Reports of unexplained noises, shadowy figures, and even full apparition sightings have turned the abandoned medical facility into a hotbed of supernatural activity. Now, as we delve into the history of Yorktown Memorial, we're going to uncover the layers of stories that have cemented its reputation as one of Texas's most haunted locations. From the accounts of former patients and workers to the chilling experiences of paranormal investigators, each story is going to add to the tapestry of the mystery that envelopes this place. In this episode, we're not just retracing the echoes of the past. We're stepping into the realm where the line between living and the dead blurs. So prepare yourself for the journey into the unknown as we explore the haunted halls of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital and seek to understand the secrets that lie within its walls. Now, one of the first things that I like to do is to actually dive into some of those first encounters. I think that's, whenever I'm doing research, I always want to know, when was the activity first seen? And in this occasion, it was kind of surprising. I mean, I guess it's not surprising if you look at the location in general, because the hospital, since the very inception, since the very beginning in 1950, it was obviously a bustling center for medical activity. However, it wasn't long before a lot of these strange occurrences began to be whispered amongst the staff and some of the patients. The first of these accounts dating back to just the early 1960s, and that was a time when the hospital was still relatively new, but it already obviously witnessed its fair share of life and death. And of those, there was a nurse's tale, and it's one of the earliest recorded encounters involving a nurse, and she was working the night shift. She reported hearing some unexplained sounds of footsteps, muffled whispers in the hallways, and there was no living souls that was present where she was at. Now, one particular night, she claimed she saw an image of a man in a patient's uniform or like garb, and it vanished as quickly as he appeared right before her eyes in a dimly lit corridor. Another one of the earlier sightings, which has become a part of the hospital's folklore, is that of child's laughter echoing in some of the empty wards. It was first reported by a janitor who was working the graveyard shift. He recounted hearing the sound of children playing, the bouncing of a ball, the pitter-patter of small little feet in the pediatric ward, which is often empty at night. This incident, as settling as it was, marked the beginning of numerous reports of childlike apparitions within the hospital. We're going to be covering one of those stories. It'll actually be the first story today. There's also disembodied voices that is typically heard. Patients too begin to share some of their eerie experiences in the reports, but one of the first documented accounts from a patient involved hearing conversations in the dead of night when no one else was around. This particular patient, who was recovering from surgery, vividly described waking up to the sound of a heated argument between two unseen entities discussing something about unfinished business. How creepy is that? Could you imagine? You just get wheeled out of surgery, you're sitting in your room, and you hear two entities that is not there arguing about some type of unfinished business. That's just creepy. I don't care who you are. But there's also the shadow in the chapel Now, Yorktown Memorial also had a little small chapel, and it's here that one of the most chilling early encounters took place. A visiting priest who's at the hospital offered some comfort to a patient, spoke of seeing a shadowy figure kneeling in prayer in the chapel. When approached, the figure reportedly vanished, leaving the priest questioning his own senses. So Yorktown Memorial is indeed a site with significant paranormal activity, making it a suitable focus for the podcast we're going to be looking at today. And we finally made it to that time. It's time to dim the lights, lean in close, and open the creaky doors to our ghost story segment. Yes, it's in this moment where the veil between our world and the other side gets just a little bit thinner. Now, I've got to warn you, what you're about to hear isn't your run-of-the-mill campfire tales. These are stories whispered in the hollow halls of the haunted location. Tales that have made even the bravest of souls look over their shoulders. We're not just telling ghost stories, we're inviting them into our world. If anything, just for a moment. Imagine, if you will, a place where the past isn't really past and the shadows play tricks on your eyes, where every whisper of the wind might just be a message from beyond. Yes, in this part of our show, we're not just talking about the ghosts, we're walking with them through the corridors of history and mystery. So pull up a chair, keep your flashlight handy, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Let's embark on the journey where the echoes of the departed come to life, where the air is as thick with tales of the unknown. Welcome to the ghost stories of Retraced Echoes, where every tale is a thread of the tapestry of the unexplained. Let's stop talking about it. Let's be about it. Let's go. In the heart of Yorktown, Texas, lies the forgotten Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a place where the echoes of the past are not merely stories, but living memories. Among its ghostly inhabitants, the most heartwarming yet haunting is that of Stacy, a young girl whose spirit still wanders the abandoned corridors. Our story unfolds in the mid-20th century within the walls of Yorktown Memorial. Stacy, a young girl with an infectious smile and a love for life, found herself battling an illness in the hospital. Her days were brightened with the little joys of childhood, particularly her cherished book, The Pokey Little Puppy, a gift from the kind-hearted Dr. Norwirski. Tragedy struck when Stacy, despite the best efforts of the hospital staff, succumbed to her illness. Her physical presence left the world, but her spirit refused to part with the place she last called home. The hospital, now abandoned, holds the essence of her playful and gentle spirit. Visitors and paranormal investigators who dare to explore the decrepit halls often speak of the encounters. In Stacy's old room on the first floor, now covered in layers of dust and decay, the faint sound of a child giggling can sometimes be heard, as if carried by the wind. In the basement, where shadows dance along the walls, a ball might roll across the floor on its own, as if pushed by unseen hands. The most touching of these encounters occur in the old hospital library. If one sits and reads aloud, The Pokey Little Puppy, the atmosphere shifts. The air grows warmer, and the sense of serenity fills the room, which is a stark contrast to the eerie silence that usually fills the hospital. Some have even felt the faint brush of a small hand, which is a silent thank you from Stacy for sharing her favorite story. The story of Stacy is not just a ghost story. It's a reminder of the innocence and joy that once filled the halls of Yorktown Memorial. Her spirit, playful and benign, continues to inhabit the hospital, just a young girl forever living in the echoes of her laughter in the pages of her favorite book. So if you ever find yourself in the desolate corridors of Yorktown Memorial Hospital, pause for just a moment, listen closely, and you might just hear the soft whisper of a child's voice or the gentle rustling of pages turning. In these moments, remember Stacy, the young girl whose spirit found solace in the place where she last felt alive. In the eerie shadows of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a presence lingers, not just of the lost and the sorrowful, but of the wrathful. This is the tale of the violent nuns, ghosts of discipline and rage, bound eternally to the hospital's decaying halls. This story unfolds many years ago, when Yorktown Memorial was a sanctuary of healing and hope, shepherded by a devout order of nuns. These sisters, robed in habits of faith, walked the corridors with an air of stern benevolence, their lives devoted to the care of the sick and the suffering. However, as time marched on and the hospital fell into disuse, a transformation took place. The nuns, once guardians of life, became specters of retribution. Their spirits, twisted by the countless tragedies they witnessed, refused to abandon their sacred halls, turning instead into apparitions of anger and vengeance. Witnesses, brave or possibly foolish enough to walk the hospital's forsaken pathways, have encountered these ghostly nuns. These encounters are never gentle. Visitors, particularly those with tattoos or clad in attire deemed inappropriate by these spectral sentinels, have reported chilling physical confrontations. They speak of being choked, scratched, and aggressively pushed, as if the nuns are enforcing a long-forgotten code of conduct upon the living. These apparitions are often seen wandering the hospital grounds, their forms shrouded in their traditional habits, an eerie echo in their former lives. In various corners of the once busy hospital, from the silent chapel to the abandoned wards, their presence is felt, a stern reminder of a discipline that transcends the grave. Possibly the most startling of these accounts are the reports of physical manifestations where the spirit of the nuns, bound to their earthly roles, exert a force that's as terrifying as it is unexplainable. It's as if they're still tending to their duties, but with an energy that has crossed into the realm of the supernatural. The tale of the violent nuns of Yorktown Memorial Hospital is a haunting reminder of the complexities of the afterlife. In the shadows of the abandoned building, they continue their eternal vigil, a spectral force of order and discipline in a place long forgotten by time. As we leave this chilling story, let it be a cautionary tale. For those who dare to explore the desolate halls of the Yorktown Memorial, be mindful of its ghostly inhabitants, the violent nuns, with their strict adherence to the code lost to the living. Remind us that some spirits never rest, forever guarding the thresholds of the world that we once knew. In the heart of Texas, amidst the overgrown weeds and the crumbling walls of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, lingers a ghost from a bygone era. His name is Doug Richards, a spirit whose tale is as mysterious as it's haunting. The story of Doug begins in the early 1970s, a time of change and turmoil. Doug, a robust man with a towering stature, worked as a heavy equipment mechanic. Known for his easy smile and his love for white t-shirts and blue jeans, he was a familiar sight in and around Yorktown. But in 1973, fate took a tragic turn. Doug, whose work often brought him into the hospital, met with an untimely and mysterious demise within its walls. The circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery, a puzzle piece lost to the book of time. Since then, Doug's spirit has been an enduring presence in the abandoned hospital. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported seeing a tall figure clad in the unmistakable garb of a white t-shirt and blue jeans, wandering the dilapidated corridors. His stride is said to be slow and purposeful, as if he's tending to some unfinished business. Now, the encounters with Doug are often tinged with a sense of sadness. Unlike the other spirits that haunt the Yorktown Memorial, Doug's presence is not malevolent. Instead, it echoes with the loneliness of a life cut short and a story left incomplete. Some say they can feel Doug's presence in the chill in the air, a sudden drop in temperature that passes as quickly as it comes. Others have heard the faint sounds of footsteps echoing through the empty halls, footsteps that belong to no living soul. But the most sad of these encounters is the sense of being watched. Visitors often report feeling a pair of unseen eyes upon them, a gaze that is curious but not threatening, as if Doug is pondering the visitors of his eternal haunt. The ghost of Doug Richards adds a layer of depth to the haunting tapestry of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital. His spirit wanders the halls in a silence, as a reminder of the countless stories that the old hospital walls have witnessed, stories of life, stories of death, and the mysteries in between. So if you ever find yourself walking the halls of Yorktown Memorial, keep an eye out for a tall figure in a white t-shirt and blue jeans. Doug Richards may be around the next corner, a silent guardian to the place that time forgot. As we continue our trip around the hospital, a place where the echoes of the past are not merely memories, but a haunting reality, there's a ghost inhabitant that is named TJ. He's a young man whose tragic tale is woven in the very fabric of the hospital's history. TJ's story is a somber one, rooted in the later years of the hospital's operation when it served as a drug rehabilitation facility. A young man seeking redemption and a fresh start, TJ came to the Yorktown Memorial with hopes of overcoming his struggles. Carrying the weight of his past, he sought the help he desperately needed within the hospital's walls. But fate had other plans. One fateful night, TJ approached the back door of the facility, ringing the bell for assistance. Whether it was a faulty bell or an oversight of staff, help never came. The next morning, a chilling discovery was made. TJ's lifeless body was found on the steps, his plea for help unanswered. His journey cut tragically short. Since then, the spirit of TJ has lingered at Yorktown Memorial. His apparition is often seen near the back door where he spent his final desperate moments. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported glimpses of a young man, a figure that fades as quickly as it appears, forever bound to a place of his untimely demise. TJ's presence is more than just a haunting. It's a reminder of just how fragile life is and how tragic consequences of neglect are. His spirits, sometimes seen wandering the hall near the back door, is said to give off the sense of deep sorrow and unfulfilled potential. The air near the back door of the hospital, where TJ's spirit is most often felt, is marked by the eerie stillness, a silence that speaks louder than words. Some visitors have reported feeling a sudden drop in temperature, a ghostly chill that serves as a silent testament to TJ's presence. TJ's ghost is not one of terror or malice. Instead, it's a haunting born of sadness, a lingering remnant of a life that sought help but found only solitude. In the abandoned corridors of Yorktown Memorial, his story is a somber echo, a reminder of the countless others who's walked these halls, each with their unspoken struggles and unseen battles. So if you ever find yourself in the forsaken threshold of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, take a moment to remember TJ. His spirit lingers near the back door, standing as a solemn guardian of a tale that ended too soon, a haunting reminder of the help that never came. In the shadowed corridors of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a tale of passion and tragedy lingers, woven in the very essence of the building. This is a story of spirits from a double homicide, a haunting reminder of a tumultuous love triangle that ended in a heartbreaking incident. Our story unfolds in the mid-20th century, within the walls of a then thriving Yorktown Memorial. The hospital was not just a place of healing, but also a world of its own. with lives intertwined in the most unexpected ways. At the heart of the tale were three individuals: a female employee, admired for her dedication and warmth, and two others, both drawn to her charm and kindness. Unbeknownst to many, a complex web of emotions was brewing, a love triangle that was as intense as it was secretive. The hospital, with its endless corridors and private corners, became the stage for this hidden drama. However, such secret contacts could not remain hidden forever. The situation reached its peak one fateful night in the secluded confines of the hospital's boiler room. Tragedy struck when the delicate balance of this triangle was disrupted. A confrontation ensued, fueled by the feelings of betrayal and heartbreak. In the heat of the moment, the encounter escalated, leaving both the female employee and her companion in a dire situation. The aftermath of this incident left a permanent mark on the hospital. The boiler room, once just another functional space, became the center of whispered stories and uneasy glances. The walls, it seemed, held on to the echoes of that tragic night. Since the hospital's abandonment, the spirits of those involved in the incident are said to linger. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported a heavy atmosphere in the boiler room, a feeling of intense emotion still hanging in the air. The apparitions are elusive, often sensed rather than seen. Some report a sudden chill upon the entering of the boiler room, a whisper of the turmoil that once unfolded there. Others speak of fleeting shadows with a feeling of being watched, a reminder of the hospital's turbulent past. These entities from the double homicide, just like the others, are more than just ghosts. They're a testament to the complexity of the human emotion and the consequences of actions taken in the moment of passion. In the eerie silence of Yorktown Memorial, the story is a haunting narrative, a cautionary tale of love and loss. As this story reaches its end, let it be a reminder that within the walls of Yorktown Memorial Hospital, tales of the human heart endure, echoing through time as a reminder for our shared humanity. Man, oh man, tell me them ghost stories didn't get you going. Probably my favorite story. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite one was. But mine was probably the story of Stacy, probably because we have the same taste in books. That pokey little puppy, man. That was one of my favorites growing up too. But as we close the creaking doors of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital and we leave its echoing corridors and the playful whispers of Stacy, remember, just because we turned off the flashlights here doesn't mean that the shadows don't continue to dance in our mysterious corners of our world. As we part ways, I want to leave you with a little secret. If you have an appetite for the unexplained and the unsolved, and you still got a little bit of desire to roam around, I got just a thing for you. My friend and I, Nick, we have a podcast called Deceptive Reality, and we cover all the unsolved mysteries. Just think of the old show Unsolved Mysteries with my man, Robert Stack. We're covering everything from, and it's only one story a week. Only one story. So like we've covered things like the Mothman, Bigfoot. We did the Exorcist, the original, the Roland Doe story. Bob Lazar. I mean, we've pretty much covered a big array of different things. You're going to want to check that out. I want you to all to go and listen to that freaking Exorcist podcast. Why we didn't get more listens on that one blows my mind. I thought that one was a banger. So definitely go check that one out if you've not checked that one out. Also, I have a YouTube channel and it's called Retraced Stories. Very close to the same name as this one, Retraced Echoes. This one's called Retraced Stories. And what happened was around Halloween, I started getting stories for the Deceptive Reality podcast, and we dramatized, added some sound effects, some music to the different stories, and people really enjoyed that. So I created a separate YouTube channel that just looks at those stories, and we cover everything from paranormal to just scary stories in general. Now, if you have an interest in providing any stories to that, you can always send it to info@retracedechoes.com. Also, if you just kind of want to hit me up and maybe give me something for this podcast, you can also use that email address for that. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, please do me a solid and leave a review. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully I made this an enjoyable experience for you. And let your friends know. Tell them that you enjoyed this story, what you enjoyed about it. If you've been to this location, let me know. I'm also super curious. This is a location I'd love to go to. If anything, to interact with a ghost of Stacy. I think that would be, I would totally go in there and read The Pokey Little Puppy. I would read it in every single room, not to get any interaction, but if she is there, I would want her to hear that story, if that's her favorite story. But I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to Retraced Echoes. As always, I'm Bert, and I'm your guide through the haunted and the hidden. Until the next time, keep your eyes open and your minds curious. And remember, the truth might be hiding where you least expect it. Until the next podcast, goodbye.